Good afternoon, it's Rick Mineral from TNK Tackle. I'm going to be putting together a hybrid, do-it-yourself hybrid lead core system today. A lot of people started thinking about using smaller reels for lead core. Often we fish lead core the old-fashioned way or typical ways. We're running 10, 12 colors, sometimes even more of lead core. But when we're fishing out there in the lakes, we're using, in many of the high mountain lakes especially, 3 or 4 colors. So we're going to set up a system. We're using a low-profile reel that's light, and we're going to go ahead and put about 5 colors of lead core on there, and we're going to put a tip in maybe 30 to 50 feet on top of that. We're going to back all that with some braided line. So I typically like using all Diawa products here. This Lexa LC300 Power P handle, and we're going to put about 125 yards of 30-pound 8-strand braid. We're using the Hercules brand. I think this works pretty good for me. I've been using this for years. Not super expensive. You can buy this on Amazon, and it seems to be working good for me. I've been using it probably for about 5 years now, and no matter what type of fishing we're doing. So the first thing we're going to do is take this Lexa out of the box here, and I used line counting reels for this because we want to know exactly how far the line is out away from the boat, so we can repeat that over and over. Sometimes the leaders get cut back, so we're not exactly sure how far lines are going to be if we go strictly by the colors of lead core. So that helps out to not have to figure out kind of sort of where it's at. We want to know exactly where it's at. If it's 120 feet back, we want to be 120 feet back. If it's 140 feet back, you know, because fish are pretty fickle. They're going to stay in that water column where they want to be, and we want to get the line exactly back to where we're catching fish. So I'll take this off here. This is a 7 ball bearing reel, brand new in the bag here. And okay, I use this in a 300 model for trout fishing, and occasionally for larger trout like at Pyramid Lake, but I also use it in a 400 model for Pyramid Lake, and I run 60-pound braids on those, running 30 on these. Okay, so that's what it looks like. Great looking reel, great line counter on it. I'm going to be using my Berkeley line station today. Helps me keep things a little straight when I'm trying to put a line on my reels for the first time. Before we start installing the line, we want to take a piece of electrical tape. I'm going to wrap it one time around the spool so that our braided line can bite right into it and hold on to it. Otherwise, it tends to spin around in circles. So the tool here we have is our handy dandy scissors. So I'm going to stick this down in here into my reel. I'm going to spin that around to have it locked in there. Try and get it wrapped around at least one time here. And I've got my electrical tape in here, wound down here, so we can use that as a base to grab the braided line. Suffix makes a really good micro lead core, what we're going to be using here, because it's much smaller. Also, I'm using a tough line micro lead core, kind of interchangeably. It's really super fine lead core. It's much stronger. It's 30% smaller and like 50% stronger or something. Tiny stuff, but it works great for me. I'm using 27-pound lead core because their 18-pound lead core was just a micron smaller. It wasn't really worth it. I can get the strength I need out of the core here. And they all have a similar drop rate. It's going to be that much stronger, and so awesome. And that's the package of what we used it from right there. And all right, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take the line from here, pull it this way. I'm going to start right in here. Kind of hard to see through this thing, so this is a threader. So I'm going to slide that through here so I can make sure I get the line where I need it to be. I'm going to slide the line into the hole here. I'll pull it through. Because my eyes get older, it gets harder and harder to see these things. Then I'm going to attempt to get it around the spool here. I'm going to push it through here. Maybe use the threader again to pull it through, if I can. Then I'm going to turn around and slide it back up this way. Oop, get in there, dude. Get my threader on there again, so I can pull it around and work with it. Alright, you. There we go. One more time, I'm going to stick my pair of tweezers in here, grab this line here, pull it this way. Make myself a little more slack on the line here. Alright. Okay, so what we're going to do here is we're going to tie a double half hitch. So I'm going to take this, and I'm going to tie a half knot. Around like that. And we have a half hitch here. Come here. Starting to see double. Getting too old. I'm going to tighten that down so we got a half hitch there. So we got our half hitch there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the tag in down here. I'm going to tie another half hitch, okay, right around itself. So what's going to happen is this little half hitch knot is going to slide into that knot, keep it from pulling through. There are other knots I'm sure you could tie for this. This seems to work best for me all the years I've been doing this kind of stuff. So make another small knot here. Okay, knot to knot. Now I'm going to start pulling it down so I can get these knots to slide up against the spool right here. We'll see it in here. Slide these knots against each other. Come on, there we go. Alright, it's stuck pretty tight right there. Now I have, you can see I've got knot against knot. It is not pulling through. Make it super tight. I'm going to reach in here with my handy dandy scissors and cut this extra piece off. Check it again. Alright, so now what I'm going to do is start, probably slide this up into the table here. So reset that counter there. I'm going to tighten up the drag. I'm going to start moving this thing left to right as I start getting pressure from the pulley there, which is fine. I'm using my thumb to go back and forth, to pull this thing back and forth as I'm moving it on. Trying to keep tension, even tension, and keep it evenly spreading across the spool right here. So here we go. I'll put about 350 feet or so on there. 375. It's funny with all these different colored braided lines out there, they eventually bleed through to being white. So just get white, but sometimes I can find the green or the blue a little bit cheaper, so I just buy whatever one's cheap. Even though I really like the 8-strand, it's that much stronger. Some people are real particular about their brands. I'm not really caring. This brand's been so good to me for years, there's no reason for me to go spend twice as much for a different brand. So let me keep working this across. Okay. So I gotta make room for the lead core there, so I'm gonna go ahead and stop there. Alright. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this line here, right? Okay, I'm going to take this off, put my lead core on there now. Someday I'm going to have a professional spooling station, but hey, this thread makes it easier than doing it the other way without it, so. Alright. So I'm going to move this back here. So now we got to join the lead core with our braided line. And some people like to peel this back and use the outer shell of the lead core to tie to this. That's a lot of work for me, so I just do it a different way. I use a nail knot tying tool because I'm not so nimble with my hands anymore. And what I'm going to do is, I made a whole video on how to tie this knot because I use my nail knot tying tool, which makes it a lot easier for me, and I don't mind using it. I've been using it for a lot of years to join lines together. When I'm fly fishing or tying line-to-line connections, whatever they are, I use this tool. And they make it in a couple different sizes, depending on the brand, $5 to $10. So, all right. So, I have a whole video on this. You need to see that up close. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this here, and the cool thing about with lead core, because lead core is kind of, when you feel it, it's really rough. So with a typical nail knot, you're going to tie both ends and pull the two knots together. But with lead core, I like to tie the braided line onto the lead core and snug it down, and it actually bites right into the lead core and holds it right where it needs to be. So I don't have to worry about trying to tie a nail knot with the lead core, because that's not going to happen. All right. So here we go. I'm going to take this like this. I'm going to go around and tie that half nail knot here. One roll around about 6 times here. 3, 4. Try not to overlap them. 5, 6. Then I'm going to take the end of this line, I'm going to shove it right to the middle of this tool here, all the way out the other end, if my hand will allow me to do that. It's pretty tight there, so let me see if I can get my finger out of the way and get it through the hole there. Come on, you can do it. Get in there. Pull it out the bottom end like this, and I pull it to the side like that. See this right here? So I pulled it all the way through to the side, and I'm holding it with my finger like this. Now I'm going to take this piece of lead core right here, I'm going to straighten it out. I'm going to slide it into the bottom of the slot here. There's a slot right here, made purpose for that. And I'm going to pull it up here to my finger where I can hold it. I'm going to spit this and get it wet, so this pops off a little easier. Dry my fingers off. I'm going to quickly pop that over onto there. Okay, I'll tighten it down. All right, let's see if I can start tightening this down. This down over here. Let's see if I can get it tighter. Okay, it stopped slipping, so good. Now if that's done, I need to cut off the tag ends here. Go ahead and cut that end off right there. As close as I can get on that one. And then we'll cut this tag end off over here and check it again. So we have that. We don't want too bulky, the transition going on to from the reel to the pole. It'll just get caught up. So that's pretty tight there. That's tight. All right, great. So now we've achieved tightness. Okay, so I'm going to spin this back up here. Okay, now that that's completely tight there and ready to go, I'm going to pull this back off the table here. I'm going to engage my gear. And now I'm going to do the same thing again here. I'm going to try and get all the rest of this lead core. There's about 5 colors, I believe. So wind it up onto the reel here. I'm going to wind this all the way up here. Try to go side to side, make sure I got complete coverage. Each color is about 30 feet. So there's one. If you're misjudging, you might have to take some of your line off from underneath your main line, so we can always roll it back up and fix that if we need to. Sometimes it doesn't want to go on very evenly. Now I'm going to fill in the middle of the spool a little bit here so I can level it out. Now I can go back to the sides here again. Key is to keep it super tight when you're putting it on. Okay, getting right into the last color here. Right at the top of the spool. Okay, we're at the end of this color here. Because it's too much. Okay, so we got about 4 3/4 color off there. So I can either reel it back over here and pull some of the leader line off. 40 feet of our fluoro clear. And once again, I'm going to use a nail tying tool to tie the knot again. All right. So I buy this fluoro-clear polymer line. It's got fluorocarbon coating, so it's almost invisible in the water. I've been using that instead of fluorocarbon for years. A lot cheaper. You buy in a 3,000 yard rule here. You can use for years. And I buy this in 12, 15, 20, and 30, 40 pound, depending on what I'm doing. All right, plenty of strength, and it's cheap enough that you can just replace stuff all the time with it. So what I'll do now is change out this. Get my lead core off there. Put my P line on here. So we can back the thing off a little bit here. Get it to where I need it to be. Again, nail knot tying tool here. Do exactly what we did on the other end. Take it back to this line here. So let me get myself 8 or 10 inches here. Okay, I'll lock it in my finger here. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. About 6 times around. Slide it through the hole here. Back again. Take my lead core. Straighten it out. Slide it through and pin it with my finger there. Let's go ahead and spit it and pop it off. And let's go ahead and tighten it down again. We're going to be using these for pyramid lake fishing, so I'm going to use 20-pound test. Plus, I like heavier line most of the time for my lead core. I don't want to break equipment, lose equipment. It all costs money, so you can go as heavy as light as you want. The fish aren't seeing this. It's just up to you what you want to do. You want to overrate your poles, but most poles I'm using are able to handle this weight as it is. All right. See if it's slipping? No slippage. All right, so I'm going to cut these ends off again. And cut the tag end off here, which is here. Check it again. Sometimes they pop loose there. Nope, we're tight. All right. So we just need a little bit of line on here, so I'm going to go ahead and tighten that up here. All right. 20, 30 feet and we're done. And that'll be just about right there. All right, I'll cut this line off and it'll be ready to go. It's ready to go. So this is going to help me quite a bit because I can use a much lighter reel. I don't have to use so much lead core when I'm fishing out there. Typically my other lead core reels, like I said, have 10 colors on them. Now I can run 5 colors. I can take that same 20 color spool and put it on 4 different reels It gives a lot more options. We're fishing most of the same water column we're looking for anyway with the other ones, as it's cooler. We're fishing up higher. If I need to get deeper, I'm just going to go with banana weights or torpedo weights and or my downriggers to get deeper. Leadcore is a great thing to fish with. It gets the line much farther from the boat at times, and we seem to have a lot more hookups that way at times. Sometimes all Leadcore, sometimes it's downriggers Leadcore, sometimes the other way. But I always fish with Leadcore no matter what type of fishing we're doing, especially when we're trolling. Okay, if you have any questions, give us a call. Check out our tackle, TNKTackle.com. Got some great swag. You want a cool t-shirt. And until next time, we'll see you on the water.